You don't want corporations scaring the heck out of Americans out there. And Amazon is essentially,
By the way, you should be happy because who are they putting the tariffs on? Chinese stuff. So that would be a signal to the consumer. Hold on a second.
Why don't they want people to know what the tariffs are costing?
I just don't understand why Amazon feels the need to do this. When companies hike up prices on goods every single freaking day, and they don't advertise we're increasing the price by 50 cents or $1 or $2 or $5. This does seem political to me. And if I were the president, I would have been pissed off too. Why are you doing this?
Well,
they show that throughout the duration of the previous administration. And if they didn't, why do it now? At least have some consistency.
Shermichael, you sound silly.
Because they can. I mean, that's not a good enough explanation.
Hold on a second. Shermichael, listen, I usually appreciate your point of view, but
you don't appreciate this one, Van?
No, because it doesn't make sense. But yeah, when prices...
If we don't start production soon, there is a high probability of a toy shortage this holiday season, okay? It's about to get real, and it's May. Yeah. Christmas is at stake, it sounds.
Hello, everybody. Guys, let's get right into this panel. I swear, the arguments made by these Republican pundits could only work on Republicans. They're just so silly. Check out what Shermichael says here, and we'll talk about it.
Tonight, peace for now between President Trump and Amazon's Jeff Bezos after reports suggested that the retail giant was going to start highlighting just how much tariffs are impacting consumers. The plan, reportedly, would have been to display the additional cost for certain items on its website, but that didn't sit well with the president. He was pissed, according to a CNN source, and the White House took aim.
This is a hostile and political act by Amazon. Why didn't Amazon do this when the Biden administration hiked inflation to the highest level in 40 years? It's not a surprise because, as Reuters recently wrote, Amazon has partnered with a Chinese propaganda arm.
Trump later called Bezos to complain about Amazon's proposal, and Bezos backed down. It's odd how angry the White House got over this, showing this data, considering their claim of this.
We have the most transparent administration in history.
So we want to be transparent.
This is the most transparent and accessible president we have ever had.
We're doing them in full transparency.
President Trump is the most transparent president in history.
So it's extreme transparency.
To the most transparent and accessible president in American history.
Transparency begins with having an accounting of where every federal dollar is spent.
The Trump administration has already proven to be the most transparent ever.
Tara Palmieri is at the table now, but Shermichael, why don't they want people to know what the tariffs are costing?
I just don't understand why Amazon feels the need to do this. When companies hike up prices on goods every single freaking day, and they don't advertise we're increasing the price by 50 cents or $1 or $2 or $5. This does seem political to me. And if I were the president, I would have been pissed off too. Why are you doing this?
Well, there's supply and demand.
For you to have to do this.
There's supply and demand.
Really quickly, Amazon is doing this because they're greedy, obviously. They want Trump to stop the tariffs. They're just greedy. They want them to go away so that they get more sales. As simple as that. But he's insane. Just let's check this out.
Pushes prices up and down. And then there's government policy, which puts a tax on goods. I mean, I think that's the difference.
Yeah,
because I actually buy on Amazon all the time.
I do too.
And I see exactly what the taxes are, you know. When I lived in D.C., they were high. When I lived in Virginia, they were a little discount. I see the taxes. So why can't companies be transparent about the taxes that are going not to them, but to the government?
We're talking about Amazon. And the cost of goods, I don't know, 6 years ago were cheaper than they were 5 years ago.
And demand.
Did they show that throughout the duration of the previous administration? And if they didn't, why do it now? At least have some consistency.
Shermichael, you sound silly.
Because they can. I mean, that's not a good enough explanation.
Hold on a second. Shermichael, listen.
Before Van Jones humiliates him, you hear Shermichael? Oh, at least have some consistency. I'm just offended. I'm appalled by it all. Like, this is just sad. He knows this is a direct tax and a direct action taken by the president. Like, and I don't get it. I'm not sure what the issue is. Aren't we supposed to be making money from Trump supporters? I'm confused. Shouldn't we be seeing a decrease in prices, right? We will be making money from this, right? All we heard from you incredibly loud and confident people were how we were all dumb and that tariffs are paid by the other country and we were going to be rich. We haven't heard any about that argument anymore, right? Where is that argument? For the past few weeks, you haven't heard anything about that. Like, Republicans out there, are you all starting to see now that you were played? And that we pay those tariffs that we impose on other countries? Like, I swear, these people are adult children.
I usually appreciate your point of view, but
you don't appreciate this one, Van?
No, because it doesn't make sense. Like, yeah, when prices go up, that's reflected in the price. But if the government does an extreme policy like 10%, 100%, that is a different of that's not a normal thing. And so I don't think it's bad. When I go on Amazon, they tell me everything. They tell me how much it cost before, my little discount I get because I have Amazon Prime. I get all kind of information. Now, why would you be afraid of information? Why would the President of the United States be so afraid of, hold on a second, that he would call a private business? You are a business person. The President of the United States is supposed to call you and tell you what you can put on your website? That's not your politics.
I see it differently, Van.
That's a very important point
I see it differently.
about the role of the government in dictating business practices. I mean,
well, I
know that you're not. Putting tariffs aside for just a second, the conduct of this administration to basically say to companies like Amazon and many others, essentially, pay to play. Come on in, give us $40 million from Melania, make sure you listen to what I have to say. That is...
Do your website how I told you to.
That is a very different type of capitalism than I thought conservatives were interested in.
So I don't like pay to play. I don't think corporations should be coming to Washington. That's why I want limited government. But on this issue, this is an interesting Amazon issue because, you know, prices went up a lot when Joe Biden was president. I mean, average things cost 25% more when he left office than he did. And we didn't have a lot of complaints when those prices went up. Now Amazon is being criticized for this. I actually do believe that taxes should be, I'm sort of on Amazon's side on this. Tariff is a tax, and that, why not put that, price of the tariff on?
Make it an additional, like a state tax, federal tax,
I mean,
tariff tax.
I just want to,
just for the sake of clarity.
And this is just ridiculous to make this argument like inflation and this tariff thing. The tariff argument is just so silly. And they know it's only good enough to work on Trump supporters. The overly confident and low intelligence. We had a pandemic, guys, that infected the entire world. You don't think that would affect supply chain issues? This inflation thing was, if I can think of, maybe 3 or 4 issues. None of which was Biden's fault. One was Trump and his mishandling of the pandemic that made it last longer by not taking it serious and having this weird tantrum along with his base about masks, which just made it so that the country was shut down longer. Again, adult babies, just such snowflakes, cry about everything. And the second reason was because of this pandemic that also affected the world, it made it so that countries where we buy stuff had issues, had a hard time getting product to us as they were also in shutdown because people were dying left and right. So less supply with an increase of demand, if anything, because there was pent up demand from the shutdown, are going to cause prices to shoot up. And then last, and one of the more significant factors, that companies took advantage of the pandemic and they increased prices even when they weren't having supply chain issues because of just a business environment. They used it as an argument because they could, and just say, "Oh, it's COVID."
Because it's not in response to what you said, but Amazon said they're not doing it. Yeah. So I was responding to it. But they're saying.
But I have one more point.
Just quickly say, part of the concern, I would assume, I haven't talked to the president, I don't know, but I guess the part of the concern is you don't want corporations scaring the heck out of Americans out there. And Amazon is essentially,
by the way, you should be happy because who are they putting the tariffs on? Chinese stuff. So that would be a signal to the consumer. Hold on a second.
We just had an inflation report that came out last week, and we still have very low inflation. So even with the tariffs...
We said that a lot during Joe Biden, too, and that didn't pass the buck. I actually think people did complain about Joe Biden.
But Steve,
you know that there that there is
But
a
I think-
delay in
Yes.
the impact of the tariffs
There is,
being
that's for true.
factored in.
I'm just saying we have
because-
very low inflation according to the
But
latest.
especially
I will
because
just-
there
Much lower than
are
under Biden.
goods that are being that were brought in ahead of tariffs to keep prices lower for longer. So that is also happening.
Okay. Van, you worked in the White House. I worked in the White House. When someone does something that you don't like in the White House, you have staff like we did, and we would call them and be like, "Can we work something out?" So I actually think what this administration did is probably no different than what any administration does. I will say, though, to your point about people weren't complaining about Joe Biden and inflation. Yes, that's why Democrats lost. Like, the American people complained. So I would say that, like, there was a consequence for Joe Biden's inflation, right? That's why we're dealing with this conversation right now. I will also just say Amazon is not the only company doing it. I'm actually not going to say the companies because I actually don't want Trump to go after them because there are many companies that I shop with. But I will say they are companies where lower income people who do not buy at high-end designer stores for their clothes and their bags and their shoes are placing how much the tariffs are because people see you spilled the tea because people are wondering why prices are going up. People were mad when the supply chain was slower because of COVID. So Amazon is not the only one. I think just one thing. I think the reason why Trump is so mad at Jeff Bezos is because he came to his inauguration and he doesn't like when people turn their backs on him. He's like, fall in line or catch my rag.
Okay. So Tara, I want you to weigh in here because she just mentioned the supply chains. The New York Times had a story about Christmas. Okay, Christmas. It's about to be May. We have a frozen supply chain that is putting Christmas at risk. Says the chief executive of the Toy Association. Okay, if we don't start production soon, there is a high probability of a toy shortage this holiday season. Okay, it's about to get real, and it's May.
Yeah.
Christmas is at stake, it sounds like.
Yeah, people don't think about supply chain and how long it takes to actually import, create things, export. I mean, we just think, oh yeah, we go to the store, we get the toy, and there it is. It took probably a full year to get it on the shelf, exactly where it is. And yeah, I just had Mark Cuban on my show said the same thing. Trump is going to be the Grinch this Christmas. Prices are going to go up. People are going to freak out. Gen Z is going to get angry about that brand that you mentioned because that's where they can. He said it. Yeah, that brand that he mentioned, and you know all of his big wins with that generation, and low-income people are going to be furious because those are the people that are really hurt by this.
Except the one thing you guys are missing is that everything you're saying is true, except for the fact that the world changes if Trump can actually get these trade deals done.
And does he do it in 90 days? Does he do it in time for Christmas?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's already working on, India. He's working on China. He's working on Japan. I mean, so yeah, and as soon as that happens, have me back in 6 months because I'll bet you 6 months from now, when this is behind us, we won't be talking about higher prices because the tariffs are going to be coming down.
But will we have one that?
But what happened to transparency, Bobby? I swear, like they have no principles. If it hurts them, they don't want transparency. It's just so obvious. And whatever Trump wants, they will twist themselves to make the argument why he's right one way or another. Literally, no matter what it is. At least he pushed back on Trump going after Amazon. But I swear, for most of these guys, Trump, and I said this before, could slap their mom and they would make an argument as to why it makes sense to do so. DEI something. I don't know. They'll come up with something stupid. And what's really sad about this particular issue is that this is going to have a direct and visceral effect on American people living on the edge that are it's going to affect all of us, but it's going to affect them the most. They're just having enough and not being completely underwater. Businesses will be shut down, small businesses that rely on income to put food on the table. People who are just able to pay their bills are not going to be able to afford it anymore. They're going to start going into debt. Companies will start laying people off, hold off on promotions. And these people are lying to everyone because they're spineless. They have no principles, these Republicans.
Christmas, though. Will they make it for Christmas?
Because I think
Christmas is
look,
8 months away.
Time is of the essence. Sure. Not only because of what's on the shelves and what's not, but because the people holding on to their capital, not making decisions, not spending, maybe cutting jobs in anticipation of a downturn, that can hit this summer.
No, it can. And I think the administration is cognizant of that, which is why they're trying to quickly move forward with as many deals as possible. I think a lot of this is predicated upon the idea that we're going to still have tariff conflicts by October, by November. I just don't believe that's the case.
I think the one big tariff conflict that matters is China, and there's been no evidence, none actually, that there's anything happening on that front, which is, that's the ball game.
Well, wouldn't
essentially
you be willing to pay a little bit more for things and decouple from China?
I think 145% is not a little bit more. Okay. Coming up next, in battle.
And you see how they're talking about us paying a little bit more now, when they literally said bring prices down on day one. This is incredible. And good luck explaining, and I feel like sometimes an idiot is trying to explain this sometimes to Trump supporters, but I'm sure some people get something from everything here. Like, to explain these tariffs and inflation and the dynamics to a Republican Party that believes Jewish space lasers caused the California fires, that the pandemic was a lie and it was for a new world order or something, some stupid crap like that. This is a Republican Party that believes, the majority of the Republican Party believes these kinds of conspiracy thoughts. The Democrats are drinking the blood of children. Again, I have no idea why. Something stupid for sure. That don't believe in simple climate change, that it's not real and it's a hoax. This is the party of flat earthers. This is who we're dealing with. You know how hard it's going to be to make them understand the dynamics of tariffs and inflation? But what's going to make them understand, they're going to feel it. Trump supporters, these diehard Trump supporters, tend to be on the poorer side. They're going to feel it right away. Good luck trying to blame that on Biden or Kamala somehow. Or DEI. DEI is not going to, you're not going to run away, escape from this one this time using DEI. Morons. You're getting played. On all these issues, by the way. On the DEI, on tariff, on everything. These mother effers are lying to you. Do a little research. Watch this show. But I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. I try to read just about all of them. Comment on a few of them. Please like, subscribe. It really helps the channel. And I'll catch you on the next one.